being here today. You're telling me we hadn't lost a season opener since 2003?
That's exactly.
It's great. We're excited about the season starting. We're excited about going to Houston and playing a very fine University of Houston team in a new conference. We're taking 2 kids, both freshmen, back to Texas, home. One right there from the Houston area, and Dominique Dillingham, Katara Chapels from about 3 hours away in Temple. So it's an exciting time for us. We're taking a group of boosters with us, which I'm really excited about and appreciate their support. So it should be a great business trip, and that's how we're approaching it. For me, I grew up 15 minutes from Hofheinz Pavilion, and so I'm very familiar. I've been in that building when it's been rocking during the Phi Slamma Jamma days, so for me, it'll be a chance to go back to an area where I'm obviously familiar with, but other than a sister that lives south of Houston, it's strictly a business trip for us, and I'm excited about taking our team and getting the season started. I think you saw us play the other night in an exhibition game. There was tremendous improvement in 1 week from the time we played Tulane on a Sunday a week ago to playing 8 days later in an exhibition game against a team that had 4 seniors in their starting lineup. So, but that being said, as we told our team, you're supposed to beat those teams in an exhibition by 30. If you don't, you've got issues. Last year we beat them by 5, played our guts out. So I think we've made improvement, we've made strides. I like our young team. I like the energy that our young team's playing with right now and the confidence that our young team's playing with. So that being said, I'll open it for questions.
If you could please raise your hand, we'll get a microphone to you.
Coach, could you talk about your newcomers? You got a new group that came in, just what they add to the team and what they bring to the veterans that you already have on the squad?
Well, the first thing they bring is a skill set. They really are all very talented young people. They're all successful. They've all won, I think, and been very successful as high school and AAU players. They played at a very high level in their young careers before they've been here, and they're winners. And so I really like their confidence that they have in themselves and their game. And I think our returners have sensed that from them, and really has excited our returners about the depth that we've added to our basketball team. And so I think from that standpoint, it's been very, very good. It's what you're supposed to do. You know, we recruited that class. Now your job is to go get one that you think's better. And then after we get this one, you're going to go try and get one that's better. And so that's what you do in recruiting and in building this program. That's what we certainly have to do. So I like our young kids. Right now, Chinway's got a broken foot, so she's got a big cast on her foot, and we're dealing with one piece of documentation for her eligibility. So other than that, our 3 other freshmen are good to go, ready to go, and then Savannah. I think anybody who was at the game the other night saw what Savannah brings to our table. She is a competitive, high motor, high energy kid. We talked this morning, our staff meeting. She's probably the biggest difference between the Tulane game and then 8 days later. She was probably our biggest difference. Much more comfortable, and that was partly my fault. I was trying to have her play some point guard for us. She was a high school point guard coming out of high school, but really hasn't played a lot of point guard in her collegiate career. And we were trying to work her in there, and I think she's really more comfortable right now on the wing. And so we've kind of stuck her there for the last 8, 9, 10 days, and I think she's really blossoming right now. So those kids right now are our depth. 2 of them were our starters the other night, and if I could easily start all 4 of them if I wanted to. So excited about our youth, and certainly they bring a lot to the table.
Can you talk a little bit about your 2 point guards and what each of them brings to the table, and how important you think that their play will be to the team's success this year?
I don't think there's any question. They've got to play well for us to have a chance to win every night. And that just comes with the position. It's not just those 2. It comes with being the point guard at Mississippi State University in this conference. You've got to have great point guard play. We had 1 turnover. It's the first time since I've been here. We've had 1 turnover at the point guard position the other night. One of them had one had 0, obviously. And so that's a really good thing. It's a great place to start with those two. I think you say, okay, Katia started and JJ came off the bench. Well, there's a reason for that. Both of them could probably warrant starting, but JJ's really good at sitting there, seeing what's going on, seeing what's open and available, and then coming in and using that to her advantage. She's very cerebral in those terms. So I think for us, both could start, but JJ seems to bring a different dimension when she comes off the bench in a positive way, and so that's why we have her coming off the bench right now. But Katia's quickness, on-ball presence certainly is different than anybody else we have on our team. Savannah would probably be second, but with the new rules and how obviously the game's being officiated, it's almost being neutralized. Not quite, but almost. But I'm going to say this, and then we're not going to talk about it anymore. If we can put people on the line 30 times a night, foul somebody 25 times a night, 27 times a night, and still holding the 22 points in each half, we're going to do it. I don't care how it looks. I don't care what anybody says. We hold people to 44 points a night. That's how we're going to play.
Coach, the SEC coaches voted Martha to the All-SEC team yesterday, but at the exhibition game, it was kind of a tale of two halves for her. What are you still looking from her for her to reach that next level?
Well, I think that's it. She needs to do it both halves. When I told her yesterday, I knew she would respond the way she did. She frowned and said, I want to be on the first team. Martha wants to do a lot of things, but as you and I both know, wanting and doing are two different things, and to get her to the next level, she's got to start doing some things a little different and doing them more consistently. And so for her right now, I think that's where we are with her and her game is if you want to get to that next level, if you want to be in the top 8 instead of the top 16, which is where she is right now, then you got to do it every day, bring it every day, and bring it every night. But realize that on everybody's scouting report, you're the person, you and Kendra are the two first people that are mentioned. You're the first two people mentioned in dealing with Mississippi State. And so I think for her, that's where she is right now in the maturation process of her game. Her as a young competitor is understanding that. And that's been part of our challenge in teaching her. She's not been somebody that was real aggressive and wanted to be touched in a physical game. Now, the way the game's changing, it might be to her advantage somewhat in the low block. So that's a good thing. Her numbers, 16 and 12. That's our goal every night. She was a 12 and 9 player last year, 12 and 9.7. 16 and 12 is our goal every night. If you want to go to the next level, you get 16 and 12 every night in the SEC, you're going to be a top 15 draft pick in the WNBA. If you can do that, no question. And so I think for her, right now, to help our team, she's got to get that every night for us. Last year, 3 different games, I just had to sit her and get her attention a little bit. But that's part of the maturation process and teaching her accountability. For our team to win, point guard play, Martha and Kendra got to bring it every night. I think that's part of the equation for our success. And obviously Martha's a big part of that.
Where have you seen, starting from last year to this year, the biggest improvement in your team? Just from year 1 to year 2.
Competitiveness. We had to teach competitiveness every day in practice last year, and I think the returners get it. They've seen it. They understand it. They've seen firsthand going against the people in our conference what their competitive nature's like, and hearing it from us every day, going and beating the teams we beat last year in the conference and seeing we won those games because we were competitive. We didn't back down. We showed toughness. And so I think for this team, we recruited that, number one. We don't have to teach these newbies this. The 5 kids that we brought in, they've got it. That's why we recruited them. We're not recruiting anybody that's not competitive. But then at the same time, these returners understand it. They know what our drills are like. They know what drills are competitive drills, and we're looking for competitive people in those drills. So I think from that standpoint, the biggest thing is that competition factor, and we've had it in practice. Like I said, I could start every newbie I have, really, and probably not be much difference. In a staff meeting earlier this morning, we talked about there was no drop-off when we substituted the other night. you're doing some things right in recruiting when you start getting those kinds of results. And so I think for us, we were excited the other night that we had no drop-off. But again, that also is a credit to those kids coming off the bench and their confidence. Not just their skill set, but their confidence level of where they are with themselves and their game and how hard they've worked on their game. You know, Kendra Grant's worked hard on her game. She's making shots right now. That's a big thing for us. We've got to have her making shots. Dominique Dillingham, a freshman, she's making shots in practice. So this is a good, young, in some ways, and inexperienced. In other ways, we do have some experience, but we have a good 10-player nucleus where they're all going to play every night.
As a follow-up to the question about the point guards, you talked after Monday night's game about the number of turnovers that the post players had. Point guards aren't responsible for those, maybe directly, but history has shown this program has had a problem with turnovers. That being said, do you still place a lot of the onus on the point guards for the number of turnovers that the team has as a whole and getting the ball to the right people in the right situations?
You know, the other night, the answer to that is no, and here's the reason why. We run a lot of high-low stuff, and that, you know, last year we had no 4-player on our roster, so we were playing 5 players at the 4. When you're asking 5 players to handle the ball 22, 23, 24 feet from the rim, make good decisions on high-low and good passes, that's you're asking somebody to be real uncomfortable. This is not my phone, and it's not a recruit that's going off. Anyway, so that being said, the other night our turnovers were mainly on those passes high to low, and then we got doubled in the low post a couple times. Not something that you know, young people are comfortable with. So I think as we go and they get more experience, you know, Katera and Bree at making those high-low passes. I think Martha had a couple where she was the trailer. She gets the rebound on one end, she's going to be the trailer on the other end. So now she becomes the 5 that's having to play the 4 in transition. She's having to make that decision in that read, and so that's how those kids got those turnovers the other night. So, hey, 1 turnover from point guard's position. I'll work with everybody else.
Coach, if you could just kind of comment on your schedule, the way everything sets up as you approach the SEC. You feel confident you got enough tough games that when you get into SEC that, you know, they'll be SEC ready because you got several new players?
I really do. I wish we weren't opening on the road, but I owed that to a friend. He came here last year and was our opener, and so we kind of owed that back to him, and so it worked out in the schedule where we would open back down there, and it works out because I'm going to be able to take the girls the next day to our football team, to our football game in College Station and support the guys. So it'll be a nice trip for our kids in that regard. We're going to go to Texas Children's Hospital on Friday and spend some time with some kids. So it's really a big trip, and it's going to be in a short period of time. But after that, we've got some games where we're here at home for a long period of time, where we've got a chance to build some momentum. Tennessee Tech, they're picked to win their conference. I believe it's the whole Ohio Valley, and so they're picked to win their league. A solid mid-major coached by a great coach in Jim Davis, a Hall of Fame guy, used to coach at Clemson. So that's going to be a toughie within itself. We're going to go to Naples and have a chance to play UCLA, NC State, you know, Middle Tennessee. All those teams are postseason teams, NCAA teams, and so we're going to have a chance to be involved with some pretty good teams at that level. Cal's in that tournament. They just had another top 5 recruiting class. They'll be very young but very, very talented. So it's going to be I said Cal, UCLA's in the tournament. But yes, I think it's a good schedule for us early. Obviously, I think in years to come we're going to be able to do some things non-conference wise and upgrade even more. But I think if you look at last year's schedule and this year's schedule, we have upgraded. We do have a tougher non-conference schedule, and so. But I think this team warrants it. I think they're excited about it, and you know, we look forward to playing.